Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server. We are with our level 22 character Psyop, and we're doing another Let's kind of rant. It's not really a rant. Mostly it's going to be talking about the future of what I'm seeing for this channel, and it's a little different from what I was planning. I have twice recorded this video. The first time, I made the mistake of doing a channel update and a rant at the same time, and it was like an hour long, and it was just too much. So I said, let me do a shorter one, and I re-recorded that. And let me check the audio on this because, for whatever reason, my voice just didn't get recorded. So I did like 30 minutes, and when I went to play it back, it was silent. Don't know what happened with that. So hopefully, we have everything working now, and you can hear my voice and a little bit of the background. And now we're going to do a Let's Rant. So you've missed getting to level 22. Let me show you the enhancements. Basically, SOs on everything, so that's looking pretty good. And we're finally finalizing. We're on the final Crown of Glory storyline for Mercedes. I did the whole Magic Man and probably some other stuff that you guys are never going to see, but that's okay because the purpose isn't to see the game of City of Heroes. It's just the backdrop of me having something to do while I ran, so that you don't have to look at my ugly mug and a pretty badly arranged background behind me that is bad lighting and everything for me to talk. You can just listen while you watch something fun on the screen if you want. And so what I want to do today, and hopefully this won't be a super long video. I'm really hoping to keep it under 15 or 20 minutes. What I'm planning to do today is just talk about what I want to do going forward and what I'm not going to do with this channel. When we started out, it was a Let's Play of City of Heroes, and I went through a tutorial slash explanation of how it works for Silver Phoenix on the Homecoming server. And we did that all the way to level 50. And I had also recorded veteran level content. I probably would have kept going quite a bit with her because I enjoyed her, and the veteran levels are pretty cool. You can keep earning experience even though your character's 50th level, and you get these sort of just bragging levels. And you can keep doing content, and I was going to basically do every story arc in the game with her, as flashbacks and stuff. But then then Homecoming put out a rule that I think they've since relaxed that said that you can't record any video and post it on their server. And so as a result, I had to leave the Homecoming server to keep making videos. And I found this server, the Rebirth server, which doesn't have any such rules. And they were perfectly happy to let me, do this. Not that I asked permission; they just didn't ban us from doing it. And so I've been doing Rebirth ever since, which has been very enjoyable. Are we getting a boss here? We are. Okay, so let's be careful. Placate the boss. And then I'm actually going to fight the other guys while he's placated. So I then did Stalker single origin only challenge, right, where I didn't do any of the crafting or any of the archetype origin, none of that. It was just all single origin. Can we do it without needing all this other crap? And of course you can, and we did it just fine. Then after that we did, and for those games I was mostly talking about City of Heroes during those videos for almost the entire time. Then we said let's do some villains, and we did the Mastermind, and we did the villain story arcs. And as we were going through that, because the Mastermind just sort of controls the pets and doesn't it's much easier to run than anything but a stalker. I think just mechanically on the screen, and maybe even easier than a stalker in some ways, unless you get into real trouble with the minions dying. Most of the time, you just have them attack things, and they attack them, and you can, you don't have to 100% concentrate, and as a result, I was able to talk about other things that don't necessarily have anything to do with City of Heroes, and we started talking about D&D and champions and stuff like that. And then I moved on to a brute, and we continued to do, these sort of rants about other things. And then I did Iron Man mode, and I had to focus on Iron Man or we would die. And then I said, okay, I think we're done at this point. We did a final run of Iron Phoenix, and having done that, and there's the next boss. We did a final run of Iron Phoenix, and having done that, we we were able to, having done that, we let finish the game, right? That, like, I said, okay, there's kind of no point to doing any more with City of Heroes as like talking about the game and how it works and that sort of stuff. I'd sort of done it all at that point. And then I branched out and I started doing, since I'd been watching people posting like solo actual plays of role playing games, I said, well, let me try some that I haven't seen. I haven't seen anybody do a solo actual play of Call of Cthulhu. So I tried doing their like choose your own adventure type adventures, and I posted a few of those. I'll be honest, I'm not at all happy with them. I don't think they're very good. I don't think I did a good job on them, and I don't think that the way I shot the video was great. I'm not thrilled with it. I'm not going to take them down, but it's not high quality stuff. I then tried doing Ironsworn, which works really well as a solo game, and I wanted to do some Ironsworn because that's, again, it's not D&D. It's something that maybe people hadn't heard of. Give it a little bit of exposure, to at least to the size of my channel. And so I did that. I did Starforged. And I enjoyed that, but there was always something in the back of my mind. First of all, I'm not super happy with the production quality. There's no arguing. It's objectively true that it's not great. And I know how to do video editing and stuff. I sort of do that as part of my job, or used to. But the problem is I don't really want to do that. I don't enjoy it. It's kind of annoying. I like Photoshop, but like screwing around with Premiere and Rush and the other Adobe products for editing film is just not pleasurable at all. It's really amazing to me how they could have one piece of software that's just awesome at doing editing, and like Photoshop is just amazing and it's a really good job of the interface and everything, and then the same company build another interface like Premiere that is so completely counterintuitive and not enjoyable to use at all. I hate it. I've always hated Premiere, and I know there are other products. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to learn them. I'm not interested. This is fun for me. Playing the game and talking, that's fun. Running the game, fun. Editing video, not fun. Don't want to do it. So if I can't edit in a solo role-playing game, I mean, for something like this, maybe editing would be great, but isn't like absolutely required. But for a solo role-playing game, I think it's essential. You have to edit out all the pauses and the I don't know what to do with this oracle roll. I try to pause the recording, but the problem with doing that is that by the time I clock that the recording probably should be paused, it's already 30 or 40 seconds of dead air into it needing to be paused. It's already too late. And unless I'm going to go in and play around and edit that out and muck with it, which I don't want to bother with, it's just going to be an inferior recording. There's just no two ways about it. And I don't like putting out a crappy product. I know that these videos aren't amazing Let's Plays of City of Heroes, but they're not crap. The way I honestly feel like production-wise, my Ironsworn and Call of Cthulhu stuff was. I'll be honest. So I really wasn't thrilled with the quality, and I'm not willing to do the things it's going to take to make the quality what I want it to be. And as a consequence, I don't really think I, at this point, want to put out any solo tabletop role-playing stuff. I have a bunch of recordings. I recorded an entire Pathfinder for Savage Worlds party. I said, let me do something different. I was trying to do something a little bit different than what other people are doing. Just like, why put the same thing out there, right? And I can't do what Trevor Duvall or even Kill 10 Rats do. Those guys are great, and I'm just not able to do that. Multiple cameras, tracking moves of the cameras, changing their voices and stuff using, editing software. It's not going to happen, guys. It's going to take 4 hours to put out 1 hour of gameplay. I want to play the game, right? Not edit and post the game. I'll post stuff that's not hard to post, but I want to be playing. Like this with City of Heroes. I don't want to spend 4 hours editing a 20-minute City of Heroes video. I want to play City of Heroes for 4 hours, right? And maybe that's selfish, but that's the way I feel about it. That's my goal, is to enjoy what I'm doing. And so yeah, I don't want to put out an inferior product. I don't want to do what it would take to put out a better product. And as a consequence, I just don't think it's in the cards. So I've recorded videos, and like this, what made me decide this is I went back and watched the videos, and like, dude, guys, I didn't want to watch these videos. That's how bad they were. Me stopping, going, gosh, I don't know how the dynamic task rules work. Let me pause it here while I look them up, right? And then I do it wrong anyway. And halfway through, I realize, oh man, I was supposed to be rolling at -2 this whole time. Yeah, it's just I just don't think it's enjoyable to watch me feeling my way through how to bleeping play a new game system that I've never run before. Um, Additionally, I was talking to somebody on the Ironsworn Discord who apparently had posted actual plays and stopped. We were both talking about the same thing. We both said we don't like, when we're solo gaming, heavy journaling, because it feels like you're writing and not playing, right? And the writing takes so much longer than talking. And so what we both did was we said we're going to do kind of an actual play with the idea that it feels like you're playing the game with someone else. You're talking like I am. You're talking to an audience, a putative audience. It might be there, it might not. But what I mean, maybe people are going to watch, maybe they aren't. But you're imagining an audience in your head, and you're imagining that you are essentially playing the game with someone. Someone's watching, and you're talking. You're talking it out the same way you would talk it out in a real session with other people. And you do the role playing live, not by pen, right? Now, again, some people like doing it with pen, that's fine. But when I tried to do this, where I was going to write it all out, I spent, again, in 4 hours, it was an hour of play and 3 hours of writing. Well, I don't want to do 3 hours of writing. I want to do 3 hours of play, right? So talking it out was great. And so she was doing the same thing. She was recording it, I guess. I don't know if she was streaming it live and people were watching it live. Maybe a couple people. My guess is not a big audience. Maybe she had 5 people watching, or 10. And then she posted it to YouTube. But what she said was very interesting. She stopped doing this too, and she said she's still recording it, but she doesn't post, which is what I'm doing at this point. I'm recording it, but not posting. And people were asking us why, and she articulated it better than I can. She said, well, we both agreed the act of recording it and talking it out loud makes it feel like we're playing the game and not just journaling, right? But she said the reason she didn't want to post is because when she knows she's streaming or posting, she feels like she has to be entertaining, right? That always, as she's playing, she's always thinking about how can I do this in a way that not is fun for me, but would be entertaining for other people to watch. Essentially, what she said was what Matt Colville's people said when they said we don't want to stream the Chain of Acheron anymore. That there's a difference between playing and performing, and she wanted to play and not perform. And that's what Matt Colville's group told him. This is a really interesting story he told, like a year ago, right? So he had this, he took his group and he started streaming D&D so that people, because he does all this DMing advice and people want to see how he actually does it at the table. He describes what he does to you, but okay, how do you do it when it's live at the table? And so, okay, he did a little of this at his old company, and then he actually started, and we're level 23, a new company, MCDM, right? Matt Colville, Dungeon Master, I guess. And he, let's go get the boss while we're bonused, while we're buffed, because these guys are all blue now. And so he started with, was Anna and Phil and the 2 Thomases and can't remember, one other guy, and another guy named Matt O'Driscoll joined them. And so they played like 24, 25 sessions of the Chain of Acheron. And then they went on hiatus for a while, like I guess after the end of a story arc or something, so that Matt could prep the next story arc. And then the pandemic hit and everything, and they were on hiatus for a long time. And finally Matt went to them and said, so guys, what do you think about starting up the chain again? And they were like, we don't know. And he was like what do you mean? Weren't you having fun? Weren't you enjoying that? And they were like, well, kind of, yeah, but kind of no. And he said, I thought you guys liked it. They were like, Matt, it's nothing about your campaign. We don't like the cameras being on. We don't like the feeling while we're playing D&D that there are people watching, and we have to constantly be performing D&D instead of playing D&D. We just want to play. We just want to have fun, and we don't want to have to like worry about the audience and what they're going to think, right? There was this whole um, complaint by audience members, and this is the big ambush now, so we got to be careful. There was a whole complaint by the audience that that the one of the guys, Phil, took like 20 minutes to do a round, or more than that, to figure out what he wanted to do on his round, because he was like hemming and hawing over, whether he was going to use his some kind of a javelin. It was a javelin of lightning or something, and it was very tactical. And Matt Colville was like, "Look, I don't mind that he took 20 minutes, right? But the point is, the audience is basically sitting there critiquing how these guys are playing, flaming them essentially, all that kind of stuff, while they're trying to just freaking play D&D. They just want to play, right? And they don't want to be criticized, and they don't want to be second or third guest. They just want to play. And so they said, we don't want to record this anymore. We just want to play the game. And Matt said, okay. So from now on, they're going to do he'll do campaign diaries. And he said they did agree that occasionally they'll maybe turn the cameras on for a cool tactical battle or something like that. But they're not going to just be streaming it all the time. And I might die here. Can we get some confusion going? Placate that guy. Oh, we completed the mission, and we can just get out. And I'm going to feel no remorse about fleeing there, because that's a lot of bosses. And we completed the mission, so we're good. So I feel, having talked to this one person on the Ironsworn Discord and thought about this with Matt's group, I feel that way as well. That I don't want to perform Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. I just want to play it. And I thought it would be fun to post it just so people could see the results. But either I have to completely ignore the fact that it's going to be posted, and guys, it will be the most tedious, boring thing you've ever watched. Or I have to do what I've been doing and keep an eye on the clock on how long it's taking to do stuff, trying to remember to pause things when I am getting into bogging down with the rules and everything, and then unpause them. It's just such a hassle, and it takes the fun away from the game. I just want to play. Another thing is I can't play music. Like if I wanted atmospheric music or something, I can't play it. I'll get copyright struck. I can't put cool images on my characters because I'll get a copyright strike, right? Because they're it's, you can download an image and use it on your computer for yourself, but you can't redistribute it on YouTube or something. And so I've now played 2 sessions, I think, without recording it, without the intention to post, knowing I'm not going to post. So let me go back. I started with a party to do Pathfinder for Savage Worlds because people hadn't done that before with a party, as far as I know, solo, and I TPK'd the party in the 3rd session. So that's the first thing that made me go, okay, am I going to post this? I mean, it might be kind of funny to post, but it's going to end in 3 sessions. So I said, you know what, doing a party is too hard because I screwed up all their abilities because there were 3 of them, and then I was running a bunch of monsters, and I'm new to the game. If there's one character, I can have one character fight 1 or 2 monsters, and at least there aren't that many special abilities on the board. So I created a new system. I just made a city, and it's this paladin who works for a religious order of good, who in this dark, gloomy city, and she's trying to bring light to the darkness. And it's a basic, very simple premise, and I started running it, and I've done about 4 sessions. And the first 2 were done a session 0 and a session 1, thinking I'm going to make a show out of it. And I really was struggling to have fun with it. And the second 2, I know I'm not going to post those. I recorded them for myself. I don't know if I'll watch them, but I recorded them so I have stuff to go back. If I'm not sure what happened, I can go back and watch, And knowing I'm recording makes me talk. If I'm not recording, then I don't say anything. And then I don't feel like I'm playing the game, right? So I've done 2 sessions now, one just about an hour ago and one last night. I can't get enough of it. Every time I stop, I want to play again. which is not the feeling I had when I was recording for distribution. I also have been able to like play music in the background. Again, I don't know copyright strike because it's not going up on YouTube. It's just sitting on my hard drive. And because it's Foundry and there's not a lot of movement in the videos are small. They're like 300 megabytes. They're not like 5 gigs like these videos are when they're long. And so like an hour and a half of just me in the Foundry interface, I guess, is mostly a freeze frame. So, and it's like it's going at 10 hertz. So yeah, it just doesn't take up a lot of data. And so I'm not going to be posting actual plays of any solo tabletop role playing that I do. At least at this point, that is my plan. That is not. I'm not going to post. I hope that doesn't disappoint people, um, but yeah, I feel like at this point, I'm having more fun knowing I'm not going to post it. So I do apologize for that if anybody was expecting that, because I had said I would do it again, but that's not going to happen. So then the question is, what do we do now with this channel? And I've got the Let's Rants, and I don't know how much of that there is left in me. I mean, I've ranted about a lot of stuff. There are certain topics I simply don't want to cover. I mean, I'm sure any of you who are watching what's going on in the tabletop role-playing world, and especially in 5th edition D&D, can imagine that there might be lots of things that I would want to rant about regarding kind of the culture of the role-playing world and what's happening there. Not having to do with the mechanical stuff like how do you write a background for your character, how do you run a campaign, all that stuff that I've been ranting about. What the importance of cause and effect. All of that is kind of like amoral, right? There's no morality to that. I'm talking about what's the most effective way to play the game in a way that's going to be the most fun for the maximum number of people at your table, right? And there's nothing. There's sort of morally agnostic. It's amoral. But there's all kinds of ethics and morals going on. Like people are talking about these days. I'm not going to name any of them because if you're part of that culture, you know what's going on. I don't want to get into it, right? It'll get me, flagged, and they're very emotional. People are emotionally invested in this stuff. I don't want to get into that. Additionally, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in 5th edition, and at this point, I have extracted myself from the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition world. I'm going to still play it with my game group that only plays D&D, but anything else I do in the role-playing world is going to be Savage Worlds or Call of Cthulhu or possibly some sort of an OSR game like Old School Essentials or Lion and Dragon or Harn World, Harn Master. I'm really interested in that. So that's where I'm going to be investing my time and energy. And those games don't have the sort of social controversy that D&D does. And they also don't have a lot of the other controversy and mess that's going on with D&D. So I can talk about those games, and I can talk about general role-playing stuff. But I'm not really going to be focusing on 5th edition because I don't care about it anymore. I don't have to care about it anymore. I don't run it anymore. If they do stupid stuff with the rules, which they're doing, I don't care. It might affect me in gameplay once every 2 weeks, a few times during a 3-hour session. So what? Right? The worst that'll happen is I might say to my best friend, I don't want to play anymore while he's running his game. But that's it. I'm not a DM anymore. I might be a GM, but I will never be a DM for D&D. And because I'm not going to be, I don't have to worry about that stuff. And the social stuff, as long as my group doesn't get into it, I don't have to worry about that either, and they haven't. So I'm extracting myself. I don't post on the D&D Beyond forums. I hardly read them anymore. Mostly I read them as like watching a train wreck, right? Just to watch how stupid it is, or how funny it is, or just how ridiculous the debate has gotten. But I haven't posted on D&D Beyond in like 6, 8, 9 months. I don't know, long time. I chat about it with this one friend of mine, and it's really funny. He's still playing both 1E and 5E, and he plays in 2 5E games and a 1E game. So 5E is still very much on his mind, and I think he's running a 1E game. He was running a 5E game, but that switched to somebody else GMing, and then he's playing in another 5E game. And he wants to run 5E again. And he's like busy working on making this big giant tome. It's going to be like 5.5, like 5e revised his way to make it better. And he's asking me, "Oh, what do you think about this and that, and how is it balanced?" I'm like, "Dude, I can try to help you, but I don't care. I have no interest in making." He's like, "I'm like, why are you doing this? I want to make 5e a better, more playable game. Don't you?" And I'm like, "No, I want to play Savage Worlds. I want to play Hardmaster. I want to play Rollmaster. I don't want to make 5e a better game. I'd rather just play a better game that's already there. Why fix a broken game when there's an unbroken game like Pathfinder for Savage Worlds or Hardmaster that I can play instead?" Yes, I know all those games have flaws, but they don't have the flaws in them that annoy me about D&D. So I'm not going to be ranting specifically about D&D at all, because since I'm no longer GMing it and I'm no longer invested in the rules at all, I don't care what they do, and it won't affect me. So it won't inspire me to rant, right? Like, I watch the stuff where people are saying, "Oh my gosh, they did this and they changed this rule and this is horrible," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't care. I really don't. I can't get up the energy to rant about it." So there won't be any rants about that. And the social stuff is out the door, out the window, not on the table, because I don't want to get like review bombed on this channel. I just don't want to get into it. So that really doesn't leave me a lot of fertile ground for ranting at this point, since I've already done like 15 or 16 of these that are about the actual content of gaming and just the general idea of how do you GM, how do you write a good background for characters, how do you work your character into a campaign, what's the difference between emergent stories and a plotted campaign, and that sort of stuff. So unless something comes up like one of the schmucks at D&D trying to tell everybody how to play their game wrong, like you have to have 3 plot lines, which definitely will trigger a response if it's something like that, because it's not about the rules now. Right now it's about running any game. I don't know how many rants there are left. And so that really means I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this channel going forward. That's the long and short of what I'm saying here. And again, this is way longer than I wanted it to be. But um, there will, after this episode, undoubtedly be a few more rants. But I don't know how many more, unless you guys have topics you want me to rant about. So if you have topics that you'd like me to rant about, leave them in the comments. If there like, is there some big thing about role-playing games that I've missed? We've talked about cause and effect. We've talked about constraints. We've talked about the importance of verisimilitude. We've talked about all kinds of stuff. We've talked about plot lines. We've talked about emergent story. We've talked about all that kind of stuff. And I've also ranted about this kind of stuff in previous episodes, just playing City of Heroes. So is there stuff I haven't talked about that you guys would like to hear me rant about, or just hear my thoughts? Leave a comment. Please don't ask me to rant about stuff like the new Counterspell rules in 5th edition. If it's 5th edition, don't ask. Because my answer is I don't play 5th edition anymore. Like, I play it, but I don't run 5th edition anymore, so I don't care what they do. So please, so you can put. I mean, I might write a comment like, "Well, here's my like one-line thought," but I'm not going to make a 30-minute video about like the new crit rules in D&D. I don't care. Those rules don't apply to Savage Worlds, and that's what I'm interested in now. Or Champions, or Rollmaster, or Hardmaster. None of those rules apply there, so I don't care. So I won't rant about that, and don't ask me about any of the sort of social, political. Politically correct, sensitivity readers, all that kind of stuff that they're doing in 5th edition. There's a lot of fertile ground for ranting in there, but I don't want that stuff on my channel. We're not talking about that. I have lots of thoughts about it, but I'm not going to make those public because it's just a lightning rod, and I don't want this channel to turn into that. Right? I'd rather this channel be about game theory. If that's what we're going to rant about, we should be ranting about game theory, not about the specifics of some social, cultural, 5th edition overlap thing, like what they call an organism in D&D. Like, I don't care. Okay? So, and I also don't want that kind of nasty, because it gets nasty. I don't want it on this channel. This has been a great channel. There's been no nastiness at all. I haven't had to moderate this channel at all since I stopped posting satisfactory videos because for some reason in the satisfactory videos people were posting links to porn sites. That's literally the only moderation I've ever had to do on this channel. It wasn't that many. It happened like once a video, but I got sick of it, so I stopped posting those videos. Literally, other than taking down links to porn sites, I have not had to do any moderation on this channel for politeness, rudeness. You guys have been polite to each other. You've been polite to me. When people disagree with me, you disagree politely. You explain why you disagree. It's always food for thought. I love it, and I love the interaction. So go ahead and keep doing that. But I just don't want us to venture into the area of where we're going to start talking about um, things that could lead to flame wars and all of that. So we won't be going there. So don't ask me about that stuff. I won't answer it. Don't ask me about 5th edition specific stuff. I don't care about it. But if you do have general role playing concepts that you want to talk about, one we could do is I was watching a video. I haven't finished watching it yet, so I've got to watch the whole thing first to get all my thoughts. Where the two people were it was on Roll and Bones, and the two people were talking about the difference between heroic characters and these sort of grim, dark anti-heroes, and why people actually like and should want to see heroes, and why you should want to play a hero rather than a grim, dark anti-hero, and or whether you should, we could talk about things like that, right? Because um, that's not a like a political third rail or something. It's nothing to do with 5th edition specifically. So if you have topics like that that you would like me to discuss, post those in the comments below, and I can continue ranting. If not, at some point I think this will probably fade away, the Let's Rants, and maybe I'll find another game we could play together and we can do that or something. If you have some ideas for games, you can post those down below. Role-playing games are good, but if it's too talky, like something like Mass Effect, I actually tried recording a bunch of Mass Effect because I got that game and I started doing a playthrough, and I realized, yeah, it's not worth it. It's just like watching cutscenes, right? There's so much dialogue in that game, and I love it, that what's the point of watching it? You can just play it, right? Why watch me play it? As opposed to this game where there's no dialogue, so I've got to fill in the dialogue with my chit chat. But Mass Effect, I didn't need to do that, so I wasn't talking that much, and I'm not that great at Mass Effect. Like, there's tons of other people who do this, so it's going to have to be a game that there's not a lot of contribution in the space right now from other people. If I get the sense that other people are doing the same game way better than I am, I probably won't. So you can leave suggestions, but I won't make any promises. It depends on how much time I have and how much fun I'm having playing my solo tabletop Savage Pathfinder, because I'm having a huge amount of fun right now. And other than doing some City of Heroes Let's Rants, I'm probably going to be spending most of my gaming time actually doing that. In fact, I'm enjoying it so much, I'm probably going to go and do it again and do another session again after I finish this recording. So we'll stop there, and hopefully that explains everything and wasn't too boring of a rant. And until next time, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been Let's Rant with Scrapper on the Rebirth server.